Well, hello everyone. Welcome to another edition of One Plus One, your place for inconvenient truth telling and myth busting. And we welcome back to the show Haitian Canadian journalist, historian, activist, and educator Jean Saint-Vil, or Jafrikayiti, who has come back on to discuss the current affairs of Haiti in our All Things Haiti special, All Things Latin America special. Before we begin, though, just a reminder to folks to please share widely all of One Plus One's content, past and present episodes, our growing new playlist. Donate generously to my PayPal. If you prefer a different form of donation, then get in touch with me at yurismather@gmail. And remember, folks, sometimes Facebook blocks me from sharing widely. So it's of the utmost important that people share widely One Plus One, help us overcome the far right algorithms and the monopoly Western corporate state media has on us. And then yes, and then one last thing. Please, folks, donate to my friend Chris Richards of the Eclectic Radical, who is struggling with unemployment, and support him by supporting his journalism. Become a Patreon of his. Trust me, folks, you can give up Spotify because YouTube has all the free music anyways. And if you need to give up another overpriced streaming services, then become a Patreon to Chris. It's money well spent. It's money well spent. And now on to the topic at hand. First off, Jafrikayiti, merci beaucoup pour l'invitation and bienvenue. Welcome back to the show. It's been too long.
Well, merci en pile. Thank you very much, Yuri, and thanks for the hard work, the great work that you've been putting on all kinds of aspects, including the politics. Sometimes I see you comment and I wonder, are you really in Europe and not in Canada because you follow what's happening here so well? So thanks, brother. It's
Well,
much appreciated.
thank you very thank you very much for that. In fact, many people have said, in fact, I have had on occasions people asking me, so what province are you from? And then when I say to them, oh no, I follow Canadian topics, but I'm actually based in Belgium, and they say to me, no way, you're an honorary Canadian. We have to find a way to get you to move here, and and if folks donate, maybe that can happen. Thank you
Exactly.
for that. So Jean, first question. First question about Haiti is try to explain to us what the hell is going on in Haiti. If memory serves me well, I had Travis Ross on yesterday, and even listening to him, it was very confusing as to what the hell is going on in Haiti. So correct me if I'm wrong as I give my perspective. So there's a UN peacekeeping mission, but basically it's an anti-gang militarized police force led by Kenyans, now Chadians, who basically dispense with civil liberties and go full fascist in eradicating gang violence. Is that? But many people say that's the official story. But what's really going on is yes there is gang violence. So there's a half truth to that. But what's really going on is the Haitian elites are having some stupid mob-like turf war. The Americans and the Canadians don't know how to get these people, how to get their acts together. So they're basically, killing whoever they think is going to be the top boss, while at the same time trying to eradicate any growing discontent the Haitian people do have for their failed state, in which you've had one neo-Duvalier after another since the coup against brother Jean-Betrand Aristide. Correct me if I'm wrong with that perspective I just shared.
Okay. I think there are a couple of nuances here that we need to deconstruct. Yes, there is what they call gang violence, but in reality, it's more paramilitary violence. Okay, that is a group of people who are armed, well armed by elements that are part of the government, the illegal government that was appointed since the coup by the United States. However, there is a problem in identifying the violence that is happening in Haiti uh, absent of geopolitical context.
Yeah.
okay? Because it's not a mystery for anybody right now that upwards of 90 to 95% of the weapons come from the United States, a country that has lots of control over what's happening in Haiti, yet the guns and weapon ammunitions have been getting into Haiti without stop.
Hmm.
And so there is more and more awareness that this is not something that is happening in Haiti despite the efforts of the United States to stop it, but it's happening in conjunction with a US agenda, including the creation of the paramilitaries. And an example to describe that is the group, the group of criminals that the United States, rightfully so, identify as terrorists. By Jimmy Cherizier, the former police officer who've become a criminal, barbecue, and the fact that it's been demonstrated that this guy, they're not really looking for him because whereas people like Travis Ross and Kim Ives have been talking about this guy as some kind of Che Guevara, and this is ridiculous. This is lack of respect for the Haitian Revolution, because there are genuine revolutionaries in Haiti who would like to make sure that the native population regain control over the country. But barbecue is not it. Okay, barbecue is closer to what we've always had in recent years. That is, the U.S. grooms a criminal and gives them protection, ammunition, and then use the activity of that criminal as a justification for its military intervention in the country. And
Kind of
so,
like
whereas
kind of like what the
people are
U.S.
speculating,
Kind of like what the U.S. does all the time with the Mexican drug cartels, correct?
Mexican drug cartels, ISIS, or even the so-called Islamist jihadists in Africa, where in reality it's the Europeans who set these groups of criminals up and then give them the facilities, their protection. For instance, barbecue has been in an area of the capital called Del Masis, which is in the heart of the city. And there's an arrest warrant to his name since January 31st, 2020, and he's not been arrested. The guy is on Facebook Live all the time in communication with his supporters in the United States, his white supporters, by the way. There are very few Haitians who support this criminal. And the US is saying that, okay, we're giving rewards of 1 million, 2 million, 3 million to catch this guy. They can put it at $1 billion if they want, because they know they're just joking. They're just making fun of people, because really no one is looking for barbecue. Because at the same time, whereas there are speculations about what the folks, the mercenaries arriving from Chad are going to do. By the way, I don't use the term peacekeeping. I think we're adult enough now to know that there is no such thing as foreign peacekeepers. Okay, these
Exactly.
are militaries, mercenaries that are deployed in foreign country for the objectives of the country that is paying for them. And so one such group of mercenaries is led by Eric Prince, the guy from Blackwater, okay, who was in Iraq. His whole group was convicted of being murderers who have committed crimes against humanity. Somehow this guy got away, and now he's been in Haiti, and his group changed its name. They do that all the time. As you know, the same thing with the
Exactly.
paramilitaries in Haiti. They used to call them G9, and then now they're calling them Vive Ensemble or Vive Ensemble, as we say in Haitian Creole. And the same way, Blackwater, if you go look for Blackwater in Haiti, you will find anything. But they changed the name to Vectors Global, and it's led by Eric Prince. And the Human Rights Watch report that came at the beginning of this year, I believe in February, confirmed that between March of last year, March 2025, and January 2026, the Vectors Global mercenaries, these are the white mercenaries, they have killed over 1,200, okay? 1,243 people. Out of these people, zero gang leader, okay? Zero of the terrorists that they're supposedly deployed to chase after. And that's why I've been saying for a number of years now that the connection between the mercenaries that are being deployed, whether those from Rwanda or the white supremacists under Eric Prince, and the so-called gangs or the paramilitaries like barbecue, the relationship between the two is the same as the relationship between the roadrunner, okay, and the coyote. Okay, so one gives significance to the other, but it's imaginary significance. In other words, the whole thing is a film, a movie. They're running after each other, but they're not really running out of each other after each other. It's to keep us entertained while other things are happening. So, for instance, the U.S. government put pressure to close down completely the airport in the capital city, the only real airport that we had that is of international level. Later on, then that made the second airport in the city of Cap-Haïtien become now more important because they closed Port-au-Prince. But effectively, commercial flights to Haiti have become completely, like so expensive because there's only this one town in Cape Haitian, and to go from Cape Haitian to other parts of the country, especially like the South, it's very difficult because the terrorists have been positioned so that they ransom people on the road, etc. And all of this has been facilitated by the fake puppet government that the United States have been recycling, every so often in the country. In other words, it is disingenuous for people to present what's going on in Haiti as something that is different, that is out of this world. It's the same strategy that the white supremacist forces have been using in places like Mali and Niger before these countries chased them out and took control of their own destiny. Whereas in Haiti, unfortunately, we haven't been able to stop this experimentation that they're doing with Haiti, because what they're doing really is implementing the Global Fragility Act idea, okay?
Yeah.
And it's connected to Project 2025 that the MAGA group are implementing. And Eric Prince, the white supremacist mercenary, you can find his videos on YouTube years before he went into Haiti, saying that there needs to be a recolonization plan so that white people can take over much of Africa. He said no country in Africa deserves to be, ruling itself. Okay, these people cannot rule themselves. And he says, yes, recolonization is what's required. And in Latin America, many countries, the white man needs to go in there. And in order to justify that, you create a mess, okay, so that now you are the required savior. And as they're doing that, what we're also noticing is criminals like Barbecue and his local terrorist, they are given a mission to completely destroy the downtown core. So, for instance, something like the Bibliothèque Nationale d'Haïti or the National Library in the core of the city, they entered that and they set it ablaze. And people were saying, well, what's the point? Because when they do that, they don't stay and occupy that territory. They just burn it up. And so it's becoming clear now that the downtown core is being prepared for gentrification. So like thousands upon thousands of people have been displaced. And just like you saw Jared Kushner, what do you call that? The son-in-law of that guy in Washington, D.C.,
yeah.
right? Well, the other day when there was that meeting in Davos, okay, he was showing PowerPoints of how, he's really ready to build, tall buildings and reconstruction. Well, they're talking about the same thing in Haiti. Okay. And how they're going to be doing that is by dispossessing the impoverished or middle class Black Haitians who occupied territory in the core of Port-au-Prince, and the oligarchs, okay, the white warlords of Haiti that I've termed that a few years, and now it's, people understand that it's a set of families who have their origins in Israel and in that region,
Yeah.
who the United States uses as intermediaries. These are the people who are positioning themselves to take over land that Black Haitians from the impoverished and middle class have left because they couldn't stay because of the paramilitaries. And so people like Barbecue are more likely or better described as mercenaries for hire by the oligarchs. They are not fighting the oligarchs. They've never put any oligarch under pressure. All of their victims are from the impoverished, Black, or middle class Haitians.
Crazy, and actually, that's a perfect segue to this question I wanted to ask you. You tagged me on Twitter X, and so I wanted to ask you this question about something that you were posting about, and talk to us about the ongoing scandal that was the murder of the U.S., Canadian, French, Western Imperial puppet that was Jovenel Moise, who was neo-Duvalierist. He was doing the bidding of the West. There was mass nationwide popular protests against him, and then he repeatedly tried to defy and extend his term limits. He then gets murdered. Who do you think killed him and why? And what does the evidence suggest happened to him, and who killed him? I'm very curious your response.
Okay, so I cannot tell you exactly who killed him, but there are people who have pleaded guilty. Okay, a couple of them, James Solage and Joseph Vincent, both of them happen to be Americans of Haitian origin, and they have been informants of the DEA, the U.S. Drug Enforcement Organization, okay, agency. Yeah. So now you would have noticed right after the murder of Jovenel Moise, who was killed right in his room, okay, on July 7th, 2021, the U.S. media started to identify these two individuals who were arrested and pleaded guilty and are supposedly condemned to spend life in jail in the U.S. I think one of them, actually, not necessarily both of them. They've identified them as ex-DEA agents, but nobody can tell you when they became ex or when they earned their X's. Okay, yeah. So we know they were DEA informants, but once they're caught, they become ex all of a sudden. But it gets weirder than that. 4 months before the removal of Jovenel Moise by assassination, there was a gathering in Washington, D.C., and it was also on YouTube, where Joe Biden, who was the president at the time, was asking for advice as to what to do with regards to Haiti. And one testimony that really attracted attention was that of a former U.S. ambassador to Haiti. Her name is Pamela White.
Yeah.
And her advice, her recommendation, and she was very forceful about it, on the 12th of March, 2021, so 4 months before the murder, her recommendation was to shove Jovenel Moise, the president, aside and to put a prime minister in power to run the country. Now, why this is important is that no one, in terms of the Haitian actors of the time who were putting proposals, like the political parties, etc., no one was talking about that as a solution. Yet, this is exactly what happened. A couple of days before Jovenel Moïse was assassinated, he named a prime minister, a new prime minister, and once he was assassinated, it was that prime minister who, within a couple of weeks, became the lead of the country. In other words, the United States fingerprints are all over this crime. For instance, the president of Haiti is murdered in his room in Haiti. Why is the FBI all over the crime scene only a few hours later? Okay? And so some folks say, well, it's because the FBI has cooperation with the Haitian government. They're helping out. Okay, so they're helping out. Now, we find out that the United States is, a few months later, sending planes to pick up some of the people who have pled guilty and taking them to the United States. Everybody's saying, what's going on here? The crime was committed in Haiti. It's a Haitian president. Why aren't these people being judged? And some of them are being arrested in Haiti. So the argument, the easy argument, the lazy argument is that, well, the judicial system in Haiti is dysfunctional. There's a better one there in the US. Well, what's happening in the better, so-called better judicial system in the US is that a judge in the US asked that there is a gag order on the proceedings of one of the Colombians, the only Black Colombian who was in the group of Colombians who were mercenaries used in the assassination of Jovenel Moïse. The US judge asked that the proceedings not be made public in order to protect national security, US national security.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, those of us who followed the assassination of Patrice Lumumba, Thomas Sankara, and others, we know what that means. That means there are US agencies that were implicated in the thing. Okay? So, I mean, that's the only logical solution to me. So if there's another explanation, people might give it to me. But 5 years after the fact, okay, so now we just heard, I believe it was 2 weeks ago, amazing information. FBI agent who was on the crime scene admits that he took no fingerprints, no DNA sample. So what the hell were you doing on the crime scene, man? Like, were you planting, so-called evidence? If you weren't collecting, if you weren't taking DNA sample, what were you doing? And, of course, us people who are of African descent, we know we cannot trust these folks, right? We know we cannot. I mean, there may be some Haitians who still trust the US judicial system. I'm not one of them. So to me, it's absolutely unacceptable what has been happening. I was no fan of Jovenel Moïse. Like you said, he was a puppet of the US, of Canada, an example of the things that I would not forgive Jovenel Moïse for doing is that after the election of Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela, he went in there and he made a public speech thanking and applauding Nicolas Maduro for his victory, his electoral victory. And then he returned to Haiti in a matter of days. He issued a statement saying that he doesn't recognize the election of Nicolas Maduro because the election was fraudulent. What happened is that his masters in Washington, D.C. and Canada told him, no, you have to, denounce Maduro because we are denouncing Maduro. So obviously, this angered the Haitian population because, of course, Venezuela has been very good to us. Since the time of Hugo Chavez, who put Haiti in the Petro-Caribe Fund program in recognition for the fact that Haiti helped Latin America liberate themselves from the Spanish colonizers and including the abolition of racial slavery. And so we have, Venezuela have a soft spot, a spot in our hearts. And, we have family in Venezuela and etc. So we did not swallow this betrayal of Venezuela by Jovenel Moïse at all. And so the irony of it is that the company that is based in the US, CTU, that organized the movement of the mercenaries, the Colombian mercenaries who murdered Jovenel Moïse, according to the accusation, one of the lead guys is actually Venezuelan. He's a right-wing Venezuelan, Intriago.
Wow.
Okay, so he's an anti-Maduro, okay, Venezuelan. So now he is, Jovenel Moïse catering to the imperialist and their white racist Venezuelans who are wanting regime change, like they've been wanting it since the time of Chavez. Okay, so Jovenel was catering to them, yet one of the main folks who organized the logistics and all of that to kill him is from that same group of racist white Venezuelans.
Wow. It's unbelievable.
Okay? And so now this guy, what's most important about Intriago is that according to the Miami Herald, this guy is actually an FBI informant. And whereas for the other guys, they said they were ex-DA. By the way, there are others, right? There's, for instance, Rudolph Jarre, who is one of those light-skinned or Syro-Libanian Haitians, okay? Very close to Michel Martelly. He's also a DEA informant. He's also in jail and pled guilty for participation in the crime. But now, on top of that, you have Intriago, who is identified as an FBI agent at the time of the murder. So the question is, now, okay, yeah, a rogue FBI agent could have participated in the assassination of the president of Haiti. However, a number of the Colombians and the African-American Haitian, and this one is even worse, Joseph Vincent, they say that they were convinced that they got the green light from the State Department to do what they did. Okay? And here's the evidence that supports that they really believe that. Now, okay, people can argue that, well, maybe it was miscommunication. And of course, we know the US is never going to say that, oh, of course we killed them. But here's what the testimony is from Joseph Vincent, the second Haitian American, okay, who is convicted of the crime. He said that after leaving the house of Jovenel Moïse after the assassination, he was afraid for his life because it became apparent that the plan, things are not going according to plan. Because one of the Colombians who was the main mastermind of the thing was killed by Haitian police. And so it became, there was a bit of a confusion, I guess, as to, are we going to inherit power? And this guy's apparently, the Colombians are saying they had no exit plan, because exit strategy, because they were guaranteed that they were going to work for the new government. They were going to have some kind of contract and whatever. Okay. So now, Joseph Vincent says in his report to the Haitian judicial system when they interviewed him, okay, because he was first arrested in Haiti and questioned, he said that when he got out of the president's house, okay, he called the chief of police for help. Now, how do you go kill the president and you want help, and who do you think of calling is the chief of police? He says that the chief of police did not pick up. Now, that gets even weirder. And then he contacts someone called Wendy King, Who is Wendy King? She works at the U.S. Embassy. And Wendy King calls the U.S. Embassy, and the U.S. Embassy says, okay, we're going to help him, and got the police chief, Léon Charles, to do the necessary movement to have police patrol go and pick up Joseph Vincent and secure him, and they arrested him. Of course, saved his life.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing? That the U.S. Embassy is helping the assassin, okay? But it gets even weirder. Because on that same day, according to testimony of the son of Jovenel Moïse, Joverlin Moïse, that he gave interviews in Haitian media, he says that he wasn't in the house. Like there's a son who was in the house, but he was at a different place because, you know, he's married, he's got a spouse or whatever. So he took his family to the U.S. Embassy seeking refuge. And he wasn't welcomed. They kept him in the parking lot for hours, and discouraged, he ended up finding other ways to get out of the country. So the son of the slain president is begging the U.S. Embassy for help. They ignore him in the parking lot. At the same time, the U.S. Embassy is helping the convicted assassin, Joseph Vincent, who is a so-called ex-DEA informant. It doesn't look ex to me, man. Sounds like you guys were to go.
But then I have to ask this question. I wasn't planning on asking this question, but I do have to ask this question. So you have Jovenel Moïse, who, again, neo-Duvalierist, far right, does the bidding of the Haitian oligarchs, of the global white supremacist, racial capitalist scumbags of the world. And yet, okay, that he faces growing mass, demonstrations. That's very typical in Haitian history. But that his own people would throw him under the bus, murder him like that. I just find that astounding, and it reminds me so much of of my mother's dear country of Congo, where you have somebody like Mobutu, who was a loyal soldier to Western imperialism. He murdered Patrice Lumumba. He eradicated the left. He was very friendly with Israel. He was very friendly with the far-right junta of Greece. He fought alongside South Africa, although he was supporting a different faction in the Angolan civil war to overturn, to stop the rise of communism in Angola. And for his very loyal service, including giving us, great boxing, Muhammad Ali's comeback and so forth, the U.S. overthrows him. The U.S. backs fake Congolese left proxies, who are proxies of Rwanda, who's a proxy of Youri Museveni, overthrows Mobutu, and then Congo is in this gigantic hellscape with Kabila, who also is later murdered. His son is a puppet, and so forth. And for me, I just find it astounding that, okay, that you murder our left-wing brothers and sisters. Okay, that's one thing, but these are your own people. These are your own far-right people, and Trump is doing the same thing in Nigeria, where two of the major parties are both far-right. They're both members of the International Democracy Union, which your former Prime Minister, Stephen Harper, this is where the global far-right, meet together to talk about how they can advance a hideous right-wing world, how they can help out one another. Stephen Harper is chairman of this, one of the members of the Liberal Party of Australia, which is, Australia's equivalent of the Tories and of the and of Canada's conservatives. So good luck, Jonathan's far-right party, and the other far-right party that was led by former military dictator of Nigeria. They're all part of this club that the Republican Party is part of, and yet the U.S., instead of just letting Nigeria be the unequal hellhole that it is, they insist in doing divide and conquer and meddling with the country. It's as if they like it's as if they're pyromaniacs and they like to see Haiti, the Horn of Africa, like Somalia or Ethiopia and Nigeria, uh, you know, unstable, even though their own people, their own far right puppets are in power a lot of times. I'm very curious your response to that.
Yeah. Well, that's the illusion of belonging to a certain club. I mean, you could have taken the example of Gaddafi as well, who was being embraced by Macron, by Obama, just months before they killed him. Okay, so it doesn't matter how much you kiss and hug with imperialism. When the expiration date arrives, they will kill you. They will kidnap you. They will do whatever, and they will pretend that they were never really your friend, and that there's something that you did that made you deserving of that fate. This has happened so many times that we don't need to question it. However, it is important still to ask the question, why did they feel the necessity to shove Jovenel Moïse aside as recommended by the former ambassador Pamela White? Well, if you were following Haitian politics very close in 2020, 2021, you would know that there was controversy about when Jovenel Moïse's term is supposed to end. And because there was unrest before the election was finally concluded, he started his term late. And so did the senators, the deputies, everybody started their terms late. And the deal at the time was that although everybody started their term late, we are still going to run elections as they were supposed to be organized, and people will serve shorter terms. That was the deal. But Jovenel applied that to the deputies and the senators. So those who were supposed to serve 6 years ended up serving 5 years, and those terms ended before his. But when the time came for the same principle to be applied for him, he said, hell no, I'm still president. And when there was a lot of controversy, they calling legal experts and blah, 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 the United States, Canada, what they call the core group, the whites who are really controlling Haiti since 2004 in the shadows, the ambassadors, they met and they said, Jovenel Moïse must stay for another year. So that means instead of his mandate ending February 7, 2021, now they gave him an extension that will take him to February 7, 2022, with the idea that he must organize elections somehow. But there was no planning, no setup for elections to be organized. Instead, the strategy of the ruling party was to gangsterize the city so that their gangs of kidnappers would render elections impossible. And they would render public demonstrations impossible as well. So the youth that you used to see in huge numbers in the streets of Port-au-Prince, Haitian, they could no longer do so because the gangs who were mobilized by Michel Martelly and Jovenel Moïse, the PHTK party that the whites had put in power in Haiti, they occupied the streets. That was their purpose. So,
interesting.
Jovenel Moïse now is becoming a liability because he's the president. He's supposed to organize elections so that he is replaced by an elected president on February 7, 2022. The Americans, the Canadians, the core group, the whites, the oligarchs, they've invested heavily in that party, that PHTK party, okay, which involves Michel Martelly and Jovenel Moïse. Yeah. Now, Jovenel Moïse is seeing time is running out on him, and he cannot take the risk of organizing an election because of all the crimes that have been committed by his government. it's always a preoccupation for Haitian presidents when their terms is ending. The person who's going to replace me, is this person going to cover my ass or going after my ass? That's always the preoccupation. So what does Jovenel Moïse do? He starts giving signals that he's not going to facilitate the return of Martelly to power. Martelly, who is the predecessor who facilitated his arrival to power, because nobody knew Jovenel Moïse.
Yeah.
Okay, at the same time, the US is watching all of this. In my analysis, they saw the best way to keep the party in power, the PHTK party in power, is to get rid of Jovenel Moïse because he's the president. He's the one who has to be elected for 5 years to have a mandate. Well, if they get rid of him, there's chaos. In the face of chaos, most people will settle, well, okay, let the prime minister run things in the meantime until we get things together. And that's exactly what happened. So Jovenel Moïse became more useful to the ruling party dead than alive.
It's amazing when you think about gangster politics, and as a leftist, I've been doing lots of research into organized crime and sort of demystifying the sort of propaganda that we get about the mafia as these Robin Hood type of figures, when really they're not. They're a reactionary symptom of a decrepit capitalist system, but it's not the big bankers or the oligarchs that they pick on, although if they cross their paths, they might give them a hard time. But who does organized crime or drug lords, who do they act as the parasite, as the tick, as the flea? The working class and so forth. And whether it's the Yakuza in Japan, often breaking up unions at the behest of the ruling right-wing party, the LDP, whether it was the far-right junta of Taiwan, who do they need to break up strikes in Taiwan or even in Hong Kong? They hire the triads. The same thing in the United States sometimes. If you want to break up a strike, you actually don't hire the police really, although it helps. Hire the mob, hire the mafia to do it, and it's just so crazy that it's almost the exact same thing in Haiti. But then I have to ask you this question then. Now I know you disagree with Kim Ivers, Dan Cohen, Travis Ross, who was here just last night. Ivers did a documentary with Dan Cohen, who's done work with the Gray Zone, Minpress News, RT, did a documentary with the Gray Zone's Max Blumenthal, Killing Gaza, about the 14-day genocidal war Israel waged on the people of Gaza and the impact of Western sanctions and so forth. And I know you have a disagreements with them regarding Jimmy BBQ barbecue, but I don't want to rehash that. But I do want your response to this allegation that Travis claimed. So he did an article that was republished in Black Agenda Reports, and his article was saying that Fanny Lavalas, the left-wing political party that Jean-Betrand Aristide was leader of, and after the second coup against him by the Bush, Paul Martin, Jacques Chirac administration's regime, FL was subjected to basically a politicide and was brutally crushed and eradicated. And Travis did an article claiming the party has pivoted to the right. And so I want your response. Is that true that the once mighty left-wing Fanny Lavalas party is a shadow of itself? And with that being said, Jean-Bertrand Aristide, will he ever make a political comeback, or is he too shell-shocked from the two coups and he wants no part in Haitian democratic politics and so forth? I'm curious your response.
Okay, so I'll give you my perspective, and honestly, I don't take Travis Ross seriously, and I am Haitian. I was born and raised there. I speak Haitian Creole. I have family, so I have stake in this thing. This is not some intellectual thing for me, right? And this is definitely not voyeurism for me. Okay, so folks who are sitting in, multi-thousand-dollar or million-dollar houses in New York, like Kim Ives, who pretends to be communist, but the guy is a multimillionaire, okay, who inherited, old money in New York, okay? These guys putting their theories out there is quite insulting because it is suggesting that these three white guys are more intelligent than all Haitians. Okay. And like I said, I don't rely on things that are written in English to understand what's happening in my own country. I pick up the phone and my family members who survived barbecues, violence, can tell me what they lived and we can hear it, etc. This guy's Travis doesn't even understand Creole. I don't know if he understands French even. Okay. So that is an important limitation for anyone who is honest with regards to what's happening and your limitations of what's happening in the country. That said, Jean-Betrand Aristide, the former president of the country, leader of Famille Lavalas, he basically is the man who's been at the center of Haitian politics since the late 80s.
Yeah.
And the movement is basically the first time the Haitian population has managed to make a sovereign decision about its leadership despite opposition by the United States. So this is huge. It's not a small thing. After two coups conducted by the former director of the CIA, the first one, okay, George Bush, the father, or Papa Bush,
yeah,
and the second one by Baby Bush, or Bush the Lesser, in 2004, President Aristide spent 7 years in exile in South Africa. Okay, him and his wife and the two small children. Of course, after the earthquake in 2010, we saw his intervention where he was saying, listen, I want to return home and invest my energy in education. Because at the time he did a PhD while he was in South Africa, and at the same time was teaching. And his wife as well was teaching in some of the best universities in South Africa. Now, what we have observed is that despite all of the naysayers, including President Obama and wicked politicians in Canada saying, don't let Aristide back, because if he goes back, he's going to disrupt the political process. He's not really going to go and invest in education. That's just what he's saying. It's not true. Well, what we've observed is that since his return on March 18, 2011 in Haiti, he went to court to regain access to the grounds of his university that the United States and the occupiers had turned into an army barrack. Okay? Mm-hmm. And reopened the university. Some of the students who had finished their medical training in Cuba, because Aristide and Fidel Castro renewed diplomatic relations in 96. And UNIFA, his university, has been graduating students since 2018. Every March, which coincides with his return to Haiti, since 2018, there are upwards of 450 professionals who are graduating in healthcare, in education, in all kinds of fields. And the latest in this year was folks from the School of Agronomy, which opened up 5 years ago. So the first class of agronomists. And he announced during the graduation of this year that from henceforth, young Haitians will study agronomy in his school for free. So wow. To me, it is clear that the Aristide couple made a choice to invest their energy in education. The political party is still there, and there are candidates, etc. But you have to understand the climate. Haiti is an occupied territory. So, of course, Famille Lavalas, the party, is participating in all of these discussions. And there are many decisions that they've made that I disagree with. For instance, I advised them not to participate in the current transition government, but they chose to So, okay, so I'm not a politician, I'm an activist, right? My reading is not necessarily their reading. The point is, though, uh, what Kim Ives and these other two white guys are doing is exactly what was done to fragilize Hugo Chavez and Nicolas Maduro. Okay, so you take a few folks on the left who have access to leftist communities, especially if they have, for instance, if you go to watch what Kim or Dan Cohen published about Palestine, and you're not, immersed in Palestine politics, you'd say, oh, these guys are speaking right. Well, that's what makes them effective. Because then when they are lying about Haiti, people on the left will not know. And I can tell you from firsthand experience, because I wrote an article a few years back, and I put it on my website, and the Black Agenda Report published it. And then a few years later, I was searching on the internet and fell on it on another website that I didn't send it to.
Yeah.
Orinoco Tribune.
Yes.
And I was surprised because Orinoco Tribune is a website that I usually trust because they publish good stuff with regards to anti-imperialism, resistance, and everything. And so at first I was glad to say, oh, they published my article. That's okay. I don't mind that kind of stuff. But then reading the article, I find that they falsify the text. Okay, and one of the key areas where they falsify it, there's a sentence or two where I denounce the paramilitaries, Jimmy Cherizier Barbecue and his gang of criminals. And instead of that sentence that they removed, they put right in there an advertisement for Kim Ives' documentary. Now, how does that happen? So I wrote to the Orinoco Tribune, and if you go on the website, you will see like they put the title, but they no longer put the article because they say, well, and their editors dropped the ball. But I don't think this happened by coincidence. Okay, this is not a difference of opinion. This is malicious. This is trying to portray my work as being supportive of the very criminals that I'm denouncing. And that you guys, the three white guys, are going around telling the world that there is a revolution going on in Haiti that, most Haitians don't recognize, but the three brilliant, singularly brilliant white guys alone understand. This is so outrageous and stupid that, it makes them ridiculous. And
I promise to ask this question one last time. I'm going to annoy you by asking this question one last time.
No worries, brother. Please ask.
Would you ever come on 1+1 to do a debate about whether Jimmy BBQ is a left-wing savior or is the criminal grifter that you describe him as, that you characterize him as?
No. You know why? Because this is not a debate in Haiti. It's not a debate among Haitians. This is a made-up controversy. Okay. It's only people who are relying on English language stuff who are talking about this. Okay. I mean, Haitians don't take barbecue. Come on. You know how insulting this is for the Haitian Revolution? The Haitian Revolution was about a system of enslavement of human beings that lasted for centuries, that self-liberated Africans fought and transformed. And to have a crazy man like Kim, characterize criminals as revolutionaries, it's beyond insulting. And another thing, like yes. Kim, whereas Travis doesn't know enough, okay? But Kim speaks Haitian Creole. Kim is not mistaken. He knows what he's doing. He chooses to do this, and I haven't figured out why. But the problem is he had access, privileged access, in the Haitian left movement. And that's what makes it unacceptable.
Mm-hmm.
Because a number of white folks who are following what's happening in Haiti may not be self-aware enough about what privileges that they enjoy going to Haiti. So for instance, whereas I might last 6 hours in a slum in Haiti before they kill me, Kim Ives can spend 2, 3 days there. No one will touch him. His whiteness will protect him. And he knows that. And everybody in the slums know that.
Mm-hmm.
The U.S. Embassy knows that.
Yes.
And so
yeah.
when these guys go with their cameras doing voyeurism in places like Haiti, the Congo, Palestine, etc., they need to check themselves to understand that, no, you don't have the right to put fantasies in your head, like, buy a beret, a Che Guevara beret, and put it on the head of a criminal, a rapist, and claim that this is a magic beret that will transform him into Che Guevara. That's not what Che Guevara was. Okay? It's disturbing. So no, they tried all kinds of ways to say that, well, okay, you have your opinion and let's have a debate. Why? Am I stupid? You want me to promote your documentary? That's not gonna happen. Okay? So it's not out of, and I tell you, like, if you go look on my website, you will see that January 1st, 2004, I was in the same bus with Kim Ives. Okay? My wife and I, we left Port-au-Prince, we went to Gonaïves. Kim was on the same plane with us. I'm filming, and you can see Kim in the image. We were talking together. When Danny Glover, the night of 31st of December to January 1st, we were sitting with Danny Glover in that restaurant in Pétionville, and the mulatto Haitians who owned that restaurant were very, very rude, bringing up the volume so that Danny and us could not have that conversation. Kim was right there. Okay, we were in his car. We went to Pétionville. So it's not someone I don't know. Okay? And so, Kim called my house. We spent about an hour on the phone. He's trying to convince me that, there's a revolution going on in Haiti and I need to come on board with his thing. Okay? And he got very angry when I told him, listen, Kim, don't you have a mirror at home? You're a white man. You're lecturing me about my country. Like,
well, then,
no.
That's actually a perfect segue to this question. So Kim has, him, Dan Cohen, and Travis to an extent, they have their thesis that Jimmy BBQ is very much, misunderstood because he's overly demonized by the other basket of deplorables. That that he's misunderstood, and that he really is a revolutionary person. But then I got to ask you then this question. So parking that. So I have to ask this question, which is this: amongst Palestine solidarity voices, even those involved in Cuban solidarity, Venezuelan solidarity, there's been, although minimally, there's been some voices saying that the whole rise of BRICS and the new era of multipolarity, which is going to displace Western domination, U.S.-led global hegemony. There are some voices, but they're very minimal, saying that is severely limited. And many people say that the fact that China hasn't engaged in full-on BDS with Israel, and apart from when the West encroaches on China's sovereignty, like with Taiwan or Hong Kong, or Russia with respects to Ukraine and NATO expansion, that in a nutshell, a lot of people are no longer that impressed with the whole China and Russia are going to save us, BRICS is going to save us with multipolarity, and just looking at the fact that China still hasn't engaged in BDS with Israel. I mean, Russia their excuse is that they have a huge Zionist population and people with, dual citizenship. So they have to be very careful when it comes to, finger wagging at Israel. But China, they can afford to do BDS on Israel. So many people have grown a little bit disillusioned with the whole BRICS and
The BRICS, yeah.
multi-polarity. And I don't even have to tell you how Haiti is constantly thrown under the bus by even the best of the left when we see left-wing heads of state from Mexico to Ecuador to Bolivia to Argentina, Brazil under Lula, and so forth. So what's your response to some people who are growing skeptical and tired of the whole China Russia BRICS are going to save us all?
Well, listen, I mean, this is a cool world, okay? I don't think in our generation we have the equivalents of Fidel Castro and Che Guevara. Fidel and Che, who, went to Africa to help the Angolan army to fight against the apartheid regime. We don't have that these days. And I think the brazen kidnapping of President Nicolas Maduro at the beginning of this year should have awakened those of us who were dreaming in Technicolor.
Yeah.
About, BRICS coming on, and therefore we're going to have a multipolar world. And, all of the resolutions to have the white supremacist forces mobilize the United Nations to have mercenaries in the country have been approved by China and Russia. Most of the times when the votes take place, it's not that they vote for it, but they abstain.
Yeah.
But they know what the abstention means. The effective thing is that the mission takes place and gets renewed over and over and over again. Okay? And China have said some great statements at the Security Council, denouncing the foreign troops in Haiti and blah, blah, blah. But that doesn't change the fact that, because this has been a constant in Haitian history, the minority, the white minority on the island, and of course we use the term white loosely here, but the non-African minority on the island are always self-aware. They're always nervous about popular uprising. And so in order to secure themselves, foreign troops arriving as mercenaries has always been a necessity for them since the arrival of Columbus in 1492. This has never changed. So this is not a new thing.
Yeah.
And so those UN missions, or the latest one, gang fighting mission, blah, 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 these are just different names for the same crap. And the weird thing and the most dangerous thing, I think, out there is that Haiti is being used as a laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
I am convinced that the presence of Eric Prince and other mercenaries in Haiti, the arrival of the folks from Chad, all of that is a model being tested for other places that the US, Canada, England might declare a fragile state. And fragile states would have natural resources that they would like to have access to, And then once they declare you a fragile state, they mobilize mercenaries, because mercenaries are cheaper than white American soldiers coming in caskets home. Right? So that's what they're doing.
Yeah. But then second to last question then is this. So we've been seeing I remember the first several months of Israel's mass murder, the genocide in Gaza, still ongoing genocide and pogroms in the West Bank, East Jerusalem. It's mass murder in Lebanon, Syria, now Iran, and so forth. I remember the first several months when we saw a beautiful avalanche wave of compassionate humanity of everybody protesting in the street. It was from from Canada to Yemen to New Zealand, Australia, Germany. Much of humanity, was voting with their feet, demanding an end to Israel's ghastly genocide and occupation of historic Palestine. Of course, the West is still supporting the criminal pirate state of Israel, but I wonder. Let's try to test the theory that China and Russia are going to save us all, break the hegemony of the U.S. and its allies. Do you think that instead of us lobbying, as Canadians are constantly doing, not all Canadians, but there's a fair amount of Canadians, well-ish meaning leftists, who think that if we just keep protesting the liberal government and beg them to stop the genocide, they will listen. They will listen to us. Do you think we need to stop wasting our time trying to appeal to some kind of humanity which doesn't exist in France, the U.S., and England, and maybe send polite letters to the Chinese ambassadors, to the Russian ambassadors, to stop the ongoing genocidal onslaught that your country has been subjected to since they overthrew French colonialism and whatnot? I'm very curious your answer on that.
Yeah, well, no, I think what we need is normalization. And so definitely, I think whether it is activists who are concerned about what's happening in Palestine, in Haiti, in Venezuela, in Burkina Faso, we need to maintain good communication with each other and with the governments of those countries, but not with the expectation that they're going to be the good colonizers. There is no good colonizer, okay? What we're looking for is normalization. So for instance, there is no reason for folks who are manufacturing electric cars to not think about manufacturing them in Haiti, manufacturing them in Burkina Faso, where you have students who are studying engineering. And so that's the kind of stuff we should be thinking about. All of the resources are in Africa, so why aren't the manufacturers setting shop in Africa so that the economy of these countries can jumpstart? That's the kind of stuff, not military interventions, because I don't think there's any way you can turn these things into positives. Whereas I think there is an opportunity here that we haven't really tapped enough. That is within the militaries of Western countries. That is the US military. You are starting to see generals rising up and saying, listen, I don't want to fight for Israel. That's not what I signed up for. It seems like the orders are not coming from Washington, but they're coming from over there. And we are not going to participate in this. I think in this time of the Epstein scandal, which clearly is a global scandal, it's the global criminal elites. They went and searched the house of the Rothschilds in France, in Paris. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Yes, sir. Wow. They're making arrests in England, in Norway, etc. So I think this means that more and more people are awakening to the fact that what they've been selling us, the idea that our militaries are mobilized, for instance, in Canada to defend Canadian interests, all of our interests, likewise for the French, etc., etc. We are all awakening to the fact that actually there is a global elite that gives meaning to the song by Michael Jackson. They don't really care about us.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. That's what we need to realize. And so if you have a number of soldiers, and I have been calling for the past 5 years for Black soldiers, whether they are enrolled in the US Army, in Canadian Army, in French Army, in whatever army, to categorically refuse participating in invasions, racist invasions, imperialist invasions of Haiti, Burkina Faso, Palestine, Venezuela, etc. Because what they're doing is no different than what they were doing to the Vietnamese at the time of Muhammad Ali.
Exactly.
Right? And so I think we should seek inspiration from Ali. And we have seen this tall white soldier, right? Who stormed into the place saying that I don't want to go to war for Israel. And they broke the guy's arm, right? Lots of violence by the state. But the fact that they are compelled, they are forced to behave in such crude violence means that imperialism is in crisis. Because now their sons and daughters are saying, Dad, Mom, you are a monster. You are dropping bombs on little girls, killing 180 young children in Iran. Like, these girls were terrorists, and zero remorse on the part of that pedophile in Washington.
Exactly.
Right? So I think that I don't want to put too much faith into it. But what you're going to see in the coming weeks, especially if the price of oil continue to rise and the stock market continue to crash like that, people's pension plans and savings keep dwindling, people are going to continue to be angry and angrier and angrier. Unfortunately, if information is not shared, factual information, people might take their anger out on the wrong people. Yes. As you see, they're already preparing for us for that, right? Yeah. All of this ICE being mobilized in North America and, white wing racists mobilized not only in Europe, here in Canada. There have been a number of demonstrations in Toronto, like Canada First, MAGA Canada. So we got to be careful about that, because if they fuel racism and people don't understand, okay, who is causing the economy to stumble like that? It's not, the refugees that are arriving from Haiti, from Congo, from El Salvador. On the contrary, these people become refugees because your corrupt elites, the pedophiles, have been lighting fires all over the world. And so a smarter way to address this, and I've been saying this for a while now, instead of going to drop bombs, very expensive bombs on the people of Iraq, it would be cheaper, smarter, more humane to garner the courage to try a couple of dozen pedophiles. It wouldn't be that expensive. That's all you need to do. Put the pedophiles in jail.
Yeah, but in order to stop the Epstein class, as Wab Canoe and others were saying, we have to do this little thing called engaging in BDS with Israel. But
but you see clearly, it's not just Israel, right? What I mean by that is that
exactly, and that's
sometimes people.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, no, there is no isolation in this crisis, right? It's the same folks who are funding the military industry, right? And they are the same ones bombing Gaza, other ones dropping these drones in Port-au-Prince, Haiti. It's the same companies. So really, we're dealing with a gang of bandits who have infiltrated governments on many continents. Yeah, it might look complex, but I think with the Epstein report, we have enough evidence now to arrest some of these top guys, right? Just take some money from the Rothschilds, you'd be able to fund, to heal the economy. Put them in jail. Why not?
Imagine.
Thanks, brother.
Imagine confiscating the Clintons' foundation, so forth.
Your video is.
Oh, wait, 1 moment. Oh,
Yeah. You're good now.
okay, perfect. No, I was just going to say, can you imagine confiscating the Clintons' foundation, so forth? That would be a death sentence for them. Well, listen.
Yeah, but you'd be able to build infrastructure in countries where people actually need the infrastructure. These rich people don't need to be richer.
Exactly, exactly. Almost inhumane when you really, really think about how these one percenters have infinite amounts of wealth and just so many people are living in just destitute poverty and whatnot. It's out of control. Well, I think, but yeah, I think in closing, sort of long story short, we do have to step our game
I
up.
think we've reached our limit, brother.
Oh, wait. How about now? All good now? Oh, wait. 1 moment.
I think I can hear you and see you well.
Okay.
But perhaps if we can I think do the conclusion so that we can.
Yeah. Yes. No. So, just wanted to conclude that we have to step our game up, and for all those who are mobilizing for Palestine, remember, our victories are only half won. We have to show urgent solidarity to Haiti, because if Haiti is not entirely free from Western imperialism and global white supremacy, then we're only half won, and we're still losing in the end. All right. Until then, folks, we were joined on this edition of 1+1, our All Things Haiti edition, with Jean Saint-Vil, Jafrikayiti, who is a frequent speaker at the Canadian Foreign Policy Institute. He's featured in Truth to the Powerless and Analysis.news. And he's involved in various Haitian solidarity groups in Quebec and elsewhere. Again, folks, please share widely. Donate to us at PayPal if it's possible. And again, sometimes Facebook blocks me, so do share widely. 1+1, and do donate to my friend Chris at his Patreon. Trust me, it's money well spent, and you guys can get rid of your Spotify because all the free music is on YouTube anyways. Jafrikayiti, thanks so much. We hope to have you back on soon. Good night and good luck.
Thank
And
you, brother.
good night and good luck, and all my best as as you continue to keep calm, soldier on, and liberate Haiti from these monsters.
Aïe, Bobo.